Hi, it's Nicole. Today we're going to look at some of Becky Sharp's character traits and also Dr. Johnson and his dictionary. But before we go into that, do you remember in my last video I said something like from Chiswick where the school was, to Russell Square, where Amelia's home was. It was about 7 miles, a 7-mile long journey. And I said I wasn't sure how long you would have taken the carriage to get there. But actually, in the book itself, the author said the carriage was driven at the rate of 4 miles an hour. So that means you would have taken them about just under 2 hours to get home. Not sure if that's useful information, but I thought I would let you know. We're going to look at Becky's character traits in two ways. First, let's compare her to Amelia. I think half of Vanity Fair is about Becky and the other half is about Amelia, so it's fair to compare them. And secondly, let's see how Becky interacted with people at school, especially Miss Pinkerton and Miss Jemima, since most of chapter 1 and 2 happened in Chiswick. Becky's name first appeared in a letter. The letter was from Miss Pinkerton, the schoolmistress of Chiswick, which was a school for young ladies, to Amelia's parents. The letter praised Amelia's accomplishments, her lovely character, and her popularity. Becky's name appeared in the postscript. Amelia was going to occupy a fitting position in their polished and refined circle, but Becky was going to offer some service, and later on we found out she was going to become a governess. Amelia was a parlor boarder who pays all fees, and Becky was an articled pupil whose work offset fees. And Amelia's father was a rich merchant, lived in Russell Square, and Becky's father was a poor artist, often drunk and by now dead. Amelia was extremely popular, everybody loved her. Miss Pinkerton and Miss Jemima loved her, fellow students loved her, servants loved her, teachers loved her. On this day of departure, there was so much hugging, laughing, crying. The author says, words refuse to tell. But Becky appeared on the scene alone, calm, unconcerned. No one cried for her or even took any notice of her. She was not sad, feeling left out, or feeling envious of Amelia. She just didn't care at all. Amelia was sent to the school to become an English gentlewoman. She fit the system. She thrived in the role the society gave to a young woman, but Becky hated it all. Amelia was sad to leave. Becky couldn't wait to leave, and she wished to see the school at the bottom of the Thames. You might feel really sorry for Becky. She's poor, she's friendless, she's neglected, and she's just having a really bad time. But the author has a very different verdict. The author says, we may be pretty certain that persons whom all the world treats ill deserve entirely the treatment they get. The world is a looking glass and gives back to every man the reflection of his own face. Frown at it, it will in turn look sourly upon you. Laugh at it and with it, and it is a jolly, kind companion. And so let all young persons take their choice. This is certain, that if the world neglected Miss Sharp, she never was known to have done a good action in behalf of anybody. Now let's see how Becky interacted with Miss Pinkerton and Miss Jemima at school. When Becky wished the school at the bottom of the river, part of the image she specified was Miss Pinkerton floating in the water. So clearly Miss Pinkerton was part of the major issue why Becky hated the place so much. We can tell she treated Becky quite badly. She gave every graduate a Johnson's dictionary, but she refused to give one to Becky. And at the farewell, she embraced Amelia and said, "Heaven bless you, my child," but she only frowned at Becky. Why did Miss Pinkerton treat Becky so badly? On the surface, it was because of money. Becky was poor and she didn't pay for anything, and Miss Pinkerton believed she has done enough for her. And just in case you haven't noticed, Miss Pinkerton was really stingy. There are a lot of examples in the book. She served seed cake, which was a cheaper type of cake, to visitors. The highly honored dictionary cost only 2 and 9 pence. She gave out dolls as presents, which she confiscated from other pupils. And she tried to save expense for a music master by asking Becky to teach. But on a deeper level, Miss Pinkerton hated Becky. So why did Miss Pinkerton hate Becky so much? It's interesting to note Miss Pinkerton didn't always hate Becky. When Becky first came to the school as a child, behaved childlike and innocent, Miss Pinkerton thought her the meekest creature in the world and invited her to the school to stay. She only started hating Becky because Becky refused to teach music for free. Was this about money again? Yes, partly, but more precisely, it was because Becky challenged her authority and humiliated her publicly. But why did Becky challenge her authority and humiliate her? Becky's contempt for Miss Pinkerton went back a long way. When she visited the school as a child and behaved childlike innocence, that was all a pretense. Becky mocked and laughed at Miss Pinkerton with her father behind her back. Becky just didn't do authority, and I think she instinctively hated Miss Pinkerton, who embodies the rigid formality of the school and the expectation of the society. How about Miss Jemima? Becky said for whole 2 years at Chiswick, she had received no kind word from anybody, which was clearly not true, as we have seen repeatedly how Miss Jemima treated her kindly. But Becky hated Miss Jemima just the same. 2 examples. Miss Jemima took the great risk of enraging her sister by sneaking out a copy of Johnson's dictionary and gave it to Becky, because Becky will be miserable if she doesn't get one. But Becky flung it back at her face. When Becky visited the school as a child, Miss Jemima gave her enough jelly and cake for 3 children and a 7-shilling piece at parting. But Becky made fun of her in front of an audience at home just as mercilessly. Becky complained there was no kind words from anybody, overlooking everything Miss Jemima did for her. I wonder if it's because Becky saw Miss Jemima as a servant, and kindness from a lowly servant was not worth having at all. In summary, let's say so far she's bitter, discontent, arrogant, lack of respect, ambitious and selfish. She didn't merely not follow the tradition, she positively fought against it, and she was very clever, and now she set out to conquer the world. Right, that's enough of Becky for now. Let's look at Dr. Johnson and his dictionary. Miss Pinkerton was first introduced as the friend of Dr. Johnson and the correspondent of Mrs. Chapon herself. This is the pride and joy of Miss Pinkerton and where her credential came from. The lexicographer's name was always on the lips of this majestic woman, and the visit he paid to her was the cause of her reputation and her fortune. I wonder what kind of visit Dr. Johnson paid her. Unlike the coachman and Miss Pinkerton, Dr. Johnson and Mrs. Chapon actually existed in history. Let's just look at Dr. Johnson for our video today. Dr. Johnson, as we have seen, was a lexicographer, which in his own dictionary was defined as a writer of dictionaries, a harmless drudge that busies himself in tracing the original and detailing the signification of words. Making the dictionary was just one of the things he did. Wikipedia described him as English writer who made lasting contributions as a poet, playwright, essayist, moralist, critic, biographer, editor, and lexicographer. Let's just focus on his dictionary for now, since we have this iconic moment of his dictionary flying through the air. His dictionary is called A Dictionary of the English Language, or simply Johnson's Dictionary. It was published in 1775, and it took him 8 years, and he did most of it all by himself. Johnson's dictionary was a milestone in the history of English dictionary in a few ways. One is that his dictionary includes a lot of common words instead of only the very long or very difficult words that in many of the previous dictionaries, and it's less like an encyclopedia. Another is that his dictionary gives definition to words. You might ask, what does a dictionary do if not to give definition to words? But before his dictionary, that wasn't the case. Many dictionary gave one word definition, almost like synonyms, or things like ache, as in my head aches, or apron for a woman, that kind of thing. Johnson not only defined word, he started to distinguish all the different layers of meaning for each word. For example, he listed 20 different meanings for the word heart. A third was that he started to use quotations from literature to illustrate the meaning of words, so the reader can see a word in use. Johnson's dictionary was the dictionary for 170 years until Oxford English Dictionary appeared in 1928. When the dictionary first came out, it was very big, very heavy, and very expensive. Only respectable families could have afforded that, so that was not the dictionary Becky threw out of the window, and Miss Pinkerton would have never given a dictionary that valuable to anybody. A smaller edition of the dictionary came out later, which was a lot cheaper. Miss Jemima's "Well, sister, you only cost 2 and 9 pence" really caught my attention. It's really cheap. I can't find a recommended retail price for Johnson's dictionary in 1810s, but could it become so cheap by then? Or did Miss Pinkerton got a wholesale deal somehow with Dr. Johnson himself, or was this a pirate edition? Right, that's enough for Johnson's dictionary for now. I'm going to Barter Books now, and I'm going to take you with me. Barter Books is an amazing second-hand bookshop in Alnwick in the north of England. In my last video I said Chiswick is pronounced as Chiswick without the W, just like Warwick and Alnwick. It's this Alnwick that Barter Books is located. The main space was converted from the old Alnwick train station. There are a huge number of books here and some fabulous old stuff. The waiting rooms are now a nice and cozy cafe restaurant. I found a few volumes of All the Year Round, a Victorian weekly literary magazine founded and owned by Charles Dickens. I also found a whole shelf of Punch. If you watched my last video, you might remember that Vanity Fair was first serialized in Punch in 1847. It's a shame they don't have the volume for 1847, but look how beautiful and attractive it is. If anyone is thinking of getting me a Christmas present, here's an idea. Though we couldn't find the 1847 Punch in their catalogue, we did find something special. The lovely lady at the desk brought 2 volumes of Johnson's dictionary from their warehouse. It was the 8th edition, published in 1798. It's 12 by 9 inches and has 3 columns on each page. These are smaller than the first edition, which was also in 2 volumes, about 17.5 inches tall and 10.75 inches wide. It's unbelievable I was holding a book of such age and significance. If you are in this part of the world, do come and visit Barter Books. And that's all for today. Hope you found it interesting, and see you in my next video.